Alright, people, welcome back to the channel. My name is Wiz, and today we're talking about the leader of the opposition, Mark Golding. Boy, Mark Golding has been receiving some harsh criticism online ever since his recent statement about the leaked voice note within his party. A lot of people, if not most people actually think that his statement was just not good enough based on how damaging these voice notes are. And one such person is Cliff Hughes. Cliff Hughes has been raining down a terror of criticism towards Mark Golding. I don't understand. People, we're going to take a listen and see if what he's saying makes any sense. Let's listen.
What Golding demonstrated yesterday afternoon was an awful failure of leadership.
Damn.
People am saying already, you're not up to this.
All right, so people, before I even listen any further, I need somebody to comment and tell me which side does Cliff Hughes actually represent. I need to know if he's speaking from the lens of a person who is concerned about Jamaica or if he's just a biased person seizing an opportunity to bash somebody, right? I need to understand exactly because this start off really strong already, people. No lie. Let's continue.
The topic of last week into this week is that those two damaging voice notes from executive members of the opposition People's National Party. We broke the story last Monday evening, and for whatever reasons best known to the PNP and its leader Mark Golding, they chose to ignore, to hope that it would blow away. But pressure kept on mounting. It was all over social media. And frankly, I think Mr. Golding was forced.
Alright, so I actually share the same sentiment because it took Mark Golding well over a week, right? A week and probably a day or two. And I'm saying it's a voice note, right? And I'm thinking within an hour, you're supposed to be able to call somebody and ask, who are these people speaking? If not, you probably know them personally, right? I definitely have to agree with Cliff Hughes here on this matter right here because it took him too long. And it seems like Mark Golding actually waited until he realized that he had no choice but to come forward. And then when he actually came forward, he came with a pre-written speech. And even though Mark Golding came with a speech that was actually pre-written, I don't think the words that was said was impactful enough to put the people's mind at ease to say, okay, Mark Golding as the leader is going to ensure that something like this never happens again. He's going to do everything to try to weed out people with that type of mentality. I think that was the kind of speech that we wanted to hear, right? Not just as a person who's against the PNP, but as a person who's a citizen, someone who care about Jamaica and actually care about the people who lost their homes and need to rebuild their lives and everything, right? We needed to know that, we will never stand for something like this. We will never align ourselves with people with this sort of mindset. We needed to hear that type of impactful speech. And I think it kind of dropped the ball, people. So let's take a listen further. Let's hear what Cliff have to say.
To say something yesterday at his party's 2-day National Executive Council meeting. And it's never good for leadership when you are forced to respond.
Damn.
No? And the response that came from Mr. Golding yesterday was poor.
100%.
He fumbled it.
100%.
He made a hash of it and may have done more harm to himself and his party with that response yesterday. You know, the issue of leadership, whether in politics, business, or whatever endeavor you may choose to get into. Leadership is lonely. Leadership is lonely because, especially in areas of national life, you're going to be confronted with tough decision making where you have to survey the landscape. And in the case of Mr. Golding, he has to take into consideration the strength of his position as leader at this moment and what is looming. He has to try to balance competing interests and views.
I think in a nutshell, what Cliff Hughes is saying is that Mark Golding may not have that oomph. I think he's trying to say that Mark Golding is a bit too soft for this position, because we have to admit, the JLP has been wiping the floor with PNP. I don't even want to get caught up into this whole politics thing, but you can tell Mark Golding, he has a lot of work to do if he's trying to replace Andrew Holness. So for whatever reason, the people, they seem to genuinely love Andrew Holness. And it's like they don't have a problem re-electing him to let him sit another term, despite all of the smear campaign and people saying all type of negative things about him. I can definitely tell that if you do a census right now, you will tell that majority of the people said Andrew Holness kind of made some. We're seeing development, we're seeing improvement, right? So if Mark Golding actually wants a chance to win the election, right, he definitely has to outperform, he has to outspeak, he has to outdo Andrew Holness on every single level. And this was a vital moment for Mark Golding to really show his dominance and his leadership, right? And it seems like he kind of just buckled under the pressure. Because the voice note, it was clear cut, right? If it's a person, a PNP exec, and they're speaking in that manner, it's like you just know one bad apple spoil the bunch. That's how we know it, right? And automatically, everybody's going to look on the party and say, this is how the People's National Party operate. All these years, they focus on corruption and all type of things. And this was the moment for the leader, right, to really come forward and put everybody's mind at ease. And he showed up with a piece of paper reading something that was written probably by a lawyer, somebody who does PR, right? And then consequences, like we really wanted consequences, We needed to hear that people lost their job immediately, right? But come on, like you're going to say you're going to take a week to investigate one phone call and you're supposed to know exactly the two people who are conversing, right? One phone call. As a person who's the leader of the opposition with that type of pay grade, with that type of access, come on. I've seen Andrew Holness find people go online and disrespect him like within an hour. At least find them under them bed anyway. So if you're trying to outdo a leader like that, Mark Golding have to tell her right now, you have to step up a pace, bro. It's like people kind of say the thing kind of looks soft. You understand? And people, when I'm speaking, I'm not even speaking from a biased place. Believe me, I only want the best for Jamaica. Whichever party happens to do that, that's the party that I'm working with, right? I don't care which one of them. We just want the best leadership for Jamaica. So let's listen some more.
And that's not unique to Mark Golding. That's not unique to any one of us in whether political, commercial, leadership. And it is in moments like those where you have to be anchored in your own belief, in your own sense of mission, in your own values and conviction. Conviction as in doing what is right. Doing what is right. And that makes leadership difficult. So you have to call a man or a woman and say, listen, you screwed up. You screwed up badly. And you screwed up badly in the case of Ethne Miller Simpson and Councillor Mario Mitchell, one of whom is an elected local public official of the party, Mario Mitchell, the councillor for the Belfield division in central Manchester. And in the case of Mrs. Miller Simpson, she ran as a parliamentary candidate for Mr. Golding's party last year, September, in Northwest St. Andrew in the general elections, and she lost to the JLP's Dwayne Smith.
All right, so people, after listening to Cliff Hughes, I can definitely see his frustration. It's like he's saying that Mark Golding is kind of damaging the wonderful legacy of the People's National Party. I don't think there's any doubt which party he actually aligns with. You know what I mean? I'm just assuming, but it's safe to say. So I think what Cliff Hughes wanted, and a lot of Jamaicans actually, they wanted to see Mark Golding step up to the podium and have the two perpetrators, one to the left, one to the right, with their heads down, making an example of them, to kind of have them before the people to show that, we are completely disassociating ourselves from these two individuals. I think that is exactly what Cliff Hughes wanted, and a lot of Jamaicans. I think that would really make a bold statement to show that, all right, this leader, he's a firm leader, he's a harsh leader, but he can also be a kind leader, right? And I believe even people from the People's National Party wanted to see a leader who would come forward and say, what? We need to sacrifice these two individuals just to save the whole entity. But it kind of seemed like Mark Golding was kind of shielding these people still. Like he was trying to protect them. Up to now, we don't hear him name drop. We don't hear that these people got fired. These people need to pack up their desk and just keep it moving, But I think right now, the number one question is, can Mark Golding and the People's National Party salvage this thing? Can they actually come back into the good graces of the people of Jamaica? It's going to be very interesting to see how they spin this story to do damage control. Let's continue.
She was a parliamentary candidate. So it is that moment where Golding had to call them in, or should have called them in, and say, you screwed up. And I'm going to A, B, C, D, E, whatever he chooses.
Mm-hmm.
But those choices that he has to make must be determined by what is right, by his own sense of conviction and belief. You don't be leader of a national political party if you don't come to the job with a mission of what you want to achieve and how you're going to get there. What are the ground rules? What are the principles? And what Golding demonstrated yesterday afternoon was an awful failure of leadership.
Yeah.
And frankly, he's been under pressure in the party. He suffered a loss in the elections of last year, an election that the whole party thought they were going to win and win handsomely, and he led them to defeat. And ever since then, and even before, there were always questions about his leadership ability, whether he could take them across the line. He did not. And with each passing day, more and more it is becoming apparent that he simply doesn't have the ability to take them across the line.
Damn, Cliff Hughes. This is a major problem, and Cliff Hughes is just poking the fire. There's going to be a tyranny soon. There's going to be, like the People's National Party, in my belief, people, I think it's going to just implode. It's going to be like internally, it's like all of the back and forth and all of the fighting amongst themselves. It's like the party is just going to implode. This is crazy, Like, I think they're going to try to find somebody who they believe is a firm person to replace Mark Golding. So Mark Golding have to step up the pace right now. It's like he's trying to save his colleagues, and I believe his colleagues are not going to try to save him because, like Cliff Hughes said, they're going to blame him for the defeat. And hearing Cliff Hughes talk so boldly on the radio, I think he's going to influence a lot of people to sit and say, yo, damn, probably what this man is saying, there's some merits to this, there's some truths to this. There's going to be a problem soon, yo, the PNP, People's National Party, trouble. Let's continue.
And those factors may have weighed on him. But it is in moments like those that you have to hold to your conviction and say, listen, to have two of my executive members be caught
Don't look good.
on tape saying, listen, the extreme partisanship of their thoughts and action must, as the Observer says in its editorial yesterday, eclipse the national interest. That is simply unacceptable.
Kind of seems like make it look like the culture.
Unacceptable.
Like it's a culture of
This
the party.
is about Jamaica.
Yeah.
You cannot, Mr. Golding, countenance any member of your National Executive Council or executive of the party putting the national interest below the partisan interest of the PNP. And I think,
Facts.
they underestimated the public sense of revulsion, of outrage over this. They underestimated that. And that's why it took him a week before he responded. And when he responded, he failed to condemn that.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the issue, Marky G, why people are up in arms. How could they, when half of Jamaica mash up, thousands of people suffer? Huh? And now, not to utter a word of condemnation? Not one word of condemnation, Mark?
Honestly, people, you have to agree with Cliff Hughes on this. You have to. Even if you're the ops, as you want to call yourself, you have to agree. If you care about the people of Jamaica, then come on, that always trump whatever party you are aligned to. Because both parties, their number one mission supposed to be that they care about the people of Jamaica. That's number one. Over everything else, you're supposed to care about your people. You understand? Because whoever win, these people, they're going to be the people that you're trying to support, right? The whole mission is to actually make a better life for them and to see that you're willing to tear down, to actually let a lot of people suffer just to let your party, the opposition party, look bad and your party look like, oh, you're doing better. Yo, that's crazy to hear, crazy to witness, people. So I can definitely tell the outrage, and if Mark Golden don't understand the frustration and why people felt let down by his speech, like Cliff Hughes say, you're not ready. People, drop it in the comment section and let me know how you feel about this right now. This is crazy. You don't know, my boy Wiz. I'm out.